Dear God, I am ready for your help in removing from me the defects of character which I now realise are an obstacle to my recovery. Help me to continue being honest with myself and guide me towards spiritual and mental health. Amen. It is with much love and gratitude that the group welcomes Theresa F. to come and share with us. Theresa, over to you.
Hi, everyone. Hello. My name is Theresa. I'm an alcoholic. Grateful to be here. Grateful to be sober because of a loving God. Thank you so much for inviting me. I think I've been here before. I'm not sure, but I'm not sure where I've been. I'm always uncomfortable and this is awkward. I will say the timing, talk about God working things out. I completely forgot. Thank you for inviting me. And I usually have a class during this time and the professor canceled. So it all worked out. And here I am. I get an opportunity to share on steps 6 and 7. I want to welcome our new friends. Welcome home. Please keep coming back. If you haven't gotten to 6 and 7, I just want to do a little thing for the newcomer. We do through 1 through 5 first. So sit back, listen, and hopefully you get to have your own experience on that. And old timers, thank you for my life and my sobriety and sharing with me your experience. So I would be just as excited to have a little bit of what you have had. Okay. By now, I hope that I have done 1 through 5. And in my 5th step, I had an opportunity to really see what we call defects of character. And really, it arrives out of the 4th column. At the time, I didn't know that's what they were. But as I was sharing them, I saw that these things were, I'm trying to think of the word. If I'm ego-driven and I'm on self-will run riot, I didn't realize that what was blocking me from this power were these behaviors that stood in the way of my relationship with the spirit, with the light, and with the power. I didn't know I was in bondage of self. And I gravitated to what you define as defects of character, but I didn't know it at the time. But I used them as tools for survival. For instinct, for protection, for defense. These were the tool belt that I walked around in, and the terms that were first introduced to me in my inventory and then my 5th were selfish and self-centered and self-seeking and dishonest and engulfed by fear. Later in the 12 and 12, they begin to define more of these terms, defective character, I love how they say, these 7 deadly sins of gluttony and sloth, but yet really it's procrastination or manipulation. I didn't have that language before until I was able to look at it with a magnifying glass and do some self-searching, fearless moral inventory. And I remember my sponsor had to help me with the list. I remember as I was sharing, she would even write some words out. I didn't have that language before I came here. My sobriety date is March 29, 1990. I was 24 years old. I had been drinking my entire life, and I'm a survivor, right? Emancipated at 4. I didn't cause problems, but I didn't know anything about manipulation or what's the term people use? People pleasing, but really I'm pleasing myself. I didn't know I was being selfish or full of this unhealthy pride and no self-worth or self-esteem, and that I sorted out of ways of insecurity of having you feel, being less than or better than. These words were new to me. So about an alcoholic life being a normal one, it wasn't just the drinking, but these behaviors and actions and choices that I made because I didn't feel safe or I wanted something that I wasn't getting. And I am so grateful that the language that is used in the program for me was more gentle and understanding and patience. If I have a spiritual illness, I'm not a bad person, malice, evil, corrupt. I'm thinking I'm those things, but that wasn't it. It was a spiritual malady. I didn't even know I was playing God. What God suit? That even fascinated me of this idea of playing God. How is that? I don't know any God that was operating in the way I was operating. I mean, even that's a distorted perception if I was playing God. God doesn't go around doing that. So what God was that? And so when I take a look at this list, I get to examine, oh, these are the things that are blocking me from this power. Are these behaviors effective? Are they giving me the results in which I believe I'm seeking, which is what? Peace of mind, a sense of unity and love and connection and inclusion. What I believe the big book was saying to me was, Theresa, I understand you have resentments. I understand you have fears. They're valid in the way in which they arrived. The issue here is not so much that you've been fearful with a direct reason or that you don't like the symptoms of the things that people have done to harm you. Really, the issue here is not that. The issue is how you have been going about solving it. And you have not been successful. As a matter of fact, it perpetuates itself and it gets bigger and uglier. And so let's approach this at a different angle. To see that I within myself, I don't have the sufficient power. This is an ego reduction process. And my ego is designed to solve problems. So therefore it will create problems. If there's no problems to solve, the ego panics because it has nothing to do. I didn't realize that at the time, but I see it now. And how do I have this relationship with this power is to be willing to reduce my ego from running the show and determining what it believes is right or wrong. I do a step meeting with my sponsees, and this week we're on step 3, and we've been talking about this idea of a power. And it's interesting how everyone says God is good. God is in me. God is everywhere. God is everything. God is all things. God is either everything or God is nothing. And so I pose the question, if that is the case, then where is God in defects of character? Where is God in the bad? Well, if God is everything, is that an oxymoron or is there a contradiction? If God is everything, do we change that ideology when bad things happen? God is in all of it. The dilemma that I face is that I'm putting on the suit and assuming I know what's best for everything and everyone, and that is not working. One of the greatest areas, talk about defects, is dishonesty. For me, my dishonesty is not that I lie. I'm a New Yorker, man. We're candid. We're candid. We say it like it is. I'll even tell on myself. We do it on the train. If you ever been on the subway in New York, the person right next to you will tell you, this woman was like, I stole from my daughter's piggy bank because I needed her money and I don't know if I could pay her back and she gonna get mad when I get home. I mean, we're used to just telling it. I don't even know her. Mostly for me, the dishonesty was always saying it shouldn't be this way. You shouldn't be that way. That shouldn't have happened. That's not supposed to happen. That can't happen. That won't happen. That's dishonest. No, it did happen. It is happening. You are that way. It is that way. Didn't realize selfish was I want things to be the way I want them to be. Theresa, the way you're going about it's not working. I keep saying I want it to be like that, but is it like that? So what are the things I'm trying to do to make something be the way it is, but it isn't? Talk about insanity. Are these things working? Is it effective? Is it productive? Does it allow it says we have to quit playing God. It don't work. I mean, that's really the gist of, is it working, Theresa? They used to say, how's that working for you? It's not working. Thank God for clarity. When we put the plug in the jug and we begin to go on this journey, I enter in this new consciousness and this new awareness. I didn't even know I was doing it. It doesn't work. So when we arrive at entirely ready, it's interesting the term that they use, entirely. How am I supposed to get to entirely? Just because it's a good idea? It's a great moral concept? Entirely is I get sick of myself. I don't know about most of you, but it seems that ignorance is bliss when I don't see it and I don't know any better. But once I've been exposed to it and I have a sense of awareness, my defects of character became more glaring in 6 than ever before. Now I began to see it. After stepping into this step, right, and seeing all this, I began to see myself be selfish. And I would be like, ooh, oh my gosh, I'm being selfish. That's not cute. In the 12 and 12, it says, I am so readily willing to give up these things that are objectionable if it doesn't make me look good. I don't want to be a thief. Oh, that's not attractive. I'm willing to give that up. But stealing can come in other ways. Robbing you emotionally. I mean, geez. I become entirely ready as I begin to gain greater awareness of how these things create a wedge between you and me and the relationship and the collaboration and the partnership with this power. These steps are introducing me into a new partnership. It's an invitation to a power that is infinite, that cannot fail, and I only stand in the way of it. And its effectiveness. And how do I align myself with that to be useful, purposeful? I gain virtues through the journey of these steps. I gain honesty and hope and courage, perseverance, compassion. And each and every one of those virtues that I gain in these spiritual steps carry me to the next one. And I become entirely ready because I see that it is not effective. It doesn't do anything but block me from you and the spirit. And in order for me to stay sober, something different has to happen. I needed to agree when I made an admission and one that I'm powerless. I'm not running the show anymore because if I do, I'll go back to drinking again. And for me to drink is to die. These steps aren't just a good idea. It's interesting. I share them with non-alcoholics, with any of my, spiritual people who come to me for spiritual advice. I share with them with my nephews. Even my nephews will have his friends call me. I get calls from 22-year-olds going, Maddox told me to call you because I got some fears and you have this thing that you do about fears, or I'm having an issue with my girlfriend and he told me to give you a call. You do something called a sex inventory. And I'm like, these tools work. They get you an opportunity. I said, absolutely. You get to look at you. Where are you being selfish in this relationship? Where are you stirring up jealousy and suspicion and envy? Where are you being inconsiderate? None of that is working. Fear is classified as stealing. It is robbing me of even thinking. So I go into 6 going, take all that. None of that is working. Perhaps there's a better way. Let's go about it differently. What I find fascinating about 6 is that I do a list and I say, these are all the things that are objectable to me. I don't like them. I can see they're not working. And more gets revealed as I go along. They turn into 3D and they become more observable. And I go, absolutely, I don't want any of that. That's standing in the way of everything. And then I get to 7. And I'm humbled. And this is where I feel I become humbled. Is because in the 7-step prayer, I said, take all of me, good and bad. Well, what happened to my list? I always remember my dad. I was going into a ceremony And I had to spend 3 days in silence and meditation, contemplation before entering into this new rites of passage. And my dad told me to meditate on all the things I wanted, because when I knock on this door of entering into this new initiation process, they're going to ask me, what do you want? And so be very thorough in what I'm asking for. And so I spent 3 days in silence and meditation, putting together a list of all the things I want in life. I got a new lease on life, all the things I want. I had about 3 or 4 pages front and back. And I stood in front of this door just excited about this new opportunity to get all the things that I want. And I knock on the door and I pull out my list to read everything that I want. And my dad snatches the list from me. And I said, what are you doing, Daddy? I didn't memorize it. You didn't tell me to memorize my list. And he says, the only thing you get to ask for is good health. None of that matters. That's 7 to me. The only thing that I'm asking for is good health. What is good health? Good spiritual health, right? Wholeness, completeness, because I don't know any better. Didn't I discover that in 1 through 6? That's humbling to me. My arrogance of thinking I know what God needs to remove. I'm on this new journey with this partnership. I got a new employer and a new director. And he says to me, you don't really know what's best. Didn't you learn that in 1 through 6? It's interesting. I thought you got that, right? That's how I feel like this power is like, didn't you get that in 1 through 6, that you don't know what's best? But yet I come before this power going, this is what I need you to remove. Even in my fear inventory, please remove my fear of, and what does it tell me? I commence to outgrow it. It doesn't take it away. It doesn't disappear. I don't know if any of you experience this, but I know for me, it's not that my fears disappear, it's that I stop managing them, because that's what I discovered was the issue. It wasn't even the fear itself. It was my management of it. Same thing with my defects of character. The issue is my management of them and my management of yours. I'm out of the management business. I am no longer the CEO of Theresa Incorporated. I've been the only person that has been the board of directors, like that movie with Eddie Murphy where he sits at that dining room table and he's every character at that table. I'm that. I'm the CEO. I'm the treasurer. Had to fire everybody. We don't know what we're doing. This business is failing. There's a new sheriff in town. I relate to a lot of movies. Meet Joe Black, where he had that death walking around with him and everybody kept saying, who is this guy? He makes all the decisions. Well, I bring in that guy, Meet Joe Black. I don't know. It all depends on what he says. We're going to do by what he says. So in 7, I become humbled because I'm like, you know what? I don't even know better. I don't know what's best. Just take all of me, good and bad. Whatever it is that you think is useful, you will let me know, because I really don't know. I'm offering myself to this power to shape and to mold and to reduce this ego self. I see Ralph. I'm always joking with Ralph. For 30-something years, since the day I heard Ralph when I had a couple of days, he has always said, shrink, Ralph, and grow God. And that became my mantra. There's so many things the old timers would say to me, these nuggets that I would hold on to and I would repeat them. Shrink, Ralph, grow God. It wasn't only until about a couple of years ago that I realized I had been saying that specifically as opposed to shrink, Theresa, and grow God. I've been saying it as a mantra. So Ralph is being reduced for the last 35 years. One thing, why is his ego being smashed constantly? Is because every morning, every day in my prayers, I've been going, or throughout the day when I'm in a situation, I go, shrink, Ralph, grow God, shrink, Ralph, grow. I mean, literally, I've been doing that for 30-something years. And then when I realized it, I was like, oh my gosh, was I supposed to say shrink, Theresa? But however, in the 11th step, it tells me to pray for others rather than myself. So perhaps it was working. because I stopped doing it when I realized it, and I started going back, I started going to Train Theresa, Grow God, but somehow it didn't work the same. As a matter of fact, I thought Ralph started getting a little cocky and a little grumpy. And I said, you know what, Ralph, since I stopped doing that prayer, I don't know, you've gotten a little arrogant. I'm going to go back to that prayer because it was working for you and for me. So that's why your ego keeps being reduced, Ralph. I went back to the prayer saying, God, please reduce Ralph. Shrink Ralph and grow God. This is an ego reducing process. And I go, okay, God, I'm not sure. Make me useful. And what is 6 and 7 preparing me to do? To walk on water? To turn water into wine, which I hope I don't get to do that. What am I doing it for? Because it sounds like a great idea. This whole thing not about being useful and purposeful. I'm in the world in which the role that God designs. I've been given some assignments, and it's preparing me for 8. I would say the answer to each step is in the very next step. If I am driven by selfishness, self-seeking, dishonest, arrogance, manipulation, fear, how am I going to do 8? I'm not coming up with no list. Ain't nothing wrong with me. Everything's wrong with you. I'm not going to make amends to nobody about what. If everybody would just follow the instructions, I give out the script all the time. I put markers. I even put X markers on the floor to show you where you stand. But yet nobody does it. Instead, you snatch everything out of the show. And so what the heck is going on? Not once did I take any responsibility for what I had to do with that entire situation. And so when I do that in 7 and I'm willing to surrender to whatever is, God is in everything or he is in nothing, including the good and the bad. We're spiritually sick. We have spiritual defects of character. In my religious tradition, we talk about building, we call iwa pele, which is building good character. The greatest surrender is an emotional self. The sacrifice to give up of self. Take everything. I would say this is where I've met God butt naked alone with a white flag up my ass. I don't know how else to describe that. Just uncle, uncle, uncle. I got a new internal GPS. I keep saying, and I should put a patent on it before somebody else comes out with it, because that's usually what happens. But I would love to be the voice of a GPS system for alcoholics and addicts. I would love to do that. And the GPS in their car is going to be like, make a left. See, as usual, you do your own thing. I told your ass to make a left. You're making a right. You never listen. It's typical of you doing your own thing. Now we're lost. And you think you know where you're going. I just want to do that so bad, you guys. I've been thinking, God, like, here we go again. You thinking you know where we're going, but we know you don't know where we're going. But you know what? God is merciful and has grace. And sometimes he just goes for the ride. We're just going to see where we end up. And until you're ready to go, okay, just let me know where we're going. God don't get out the car. Even if we crash, you know what I'm saying? God's like, let's just go for the ride and see what happens. And I begin to have an experience. This journey is about being in present time and present moment. And this is the case with all human beings. I've been saying this lately. If I had an opportunity to ask God one question, if I could just sit with God and ask one question, I would ask, do you regret making man? Do you sit back and go, man has been the vein of my existence. The world was great before man was created. Somehow I came up with man. The animals were chilling, the plants and everything. I came up with man since the beginning of time. What ended up happening? They ate from the tree. They killed their brother. I made a flood. I had my son come and die. No, the man cannot get it together. because you gave us this thing called free will. And it's for those reasons that you have mercy and grace. You created us this way than any other species, but yet that has been the biggest problem. And you've been waiting in open arms to say, I gave you will, and what I've asked is that you redirect that will towards me, and life just might be a little bit better for you and everybody else. And that's what 6 and 7 is gearing me up for, is redirecting my will towards this power that is in everything, knows all, know all things. But I'm not done there. The remaining steps continue to help me to practice that, to develop that, to perfect that, to work towards that. This is an inside job, not an outside. All my life, I reached outside of myself. It is never sufficient. I've held you hostage. Let you hold me hostage. Thinking alcohol, cocaine, whatever was going to always make it better. People, places, things, situations, money, da-da-da-da. It's never sufficient. You can't fill up this hole that's inside of me. I wish you could. I always find it fascinating that whenever I want to let go and let God, including take a look at my defects of character and decide which ones are useful or not, I still to this day wonder, why is it that whenever I think of this God idea and fully, I say, fall into God's arms, I always think I'm not going to get what I want. What is that about? What is that about? Every time I get ready to go let go and let God, it's this parental dysfunctional idea that God's going to be like, nope, you can't have nothing. And it's the one that be like, no, I'm not going to ask you because you don't be giving me what I want. So I need to go over here and handle my own business because this is the only way a sister's going to get something. You know what I'm saying? Now, even though the consequences are pretty bad and sometimes they don't always work out, but at least I get a little taste. You know what I'm saying? But when I leave it up to you, boy, nothing be happening. It always seems to happen for other people other than me. I always say whenever I look at Facebook, I got to do an inventory, boy. Everybody having a great time on Facebook. It seems like their whole lives are so wonderful but mine. And Facebook brings up all of my disingenuousness and dishonesty. I'm not in integrity now that I'm telling y'all know, but I don't have that much integrity when I'm in Facebook because I'm looking at your lives are so full and so rich. And then I'm going, ain't that a bitch? Look at them having a great old time on in love, eating everything on a cruise and stuff in another country. You know, really? Seriously? I do all this with people and they don't do nothing and they in Greece and everything. That's right. Really, God? Seriously? And then I turn around and go, thumbs up. Yay. Awesome. So dishonest. They had no idea that I gotta now go do inventory because your ass in Greece. Because I'm thinking my life should look like that. These steps have helped me to stretch my spiritual muscles in situations where I don't know I can even do it. Whether I've been a caregiver to my mother with Alzheimer's, my father with Parkinson's, my brother with cancer. Oh my goodness, the things that have happened that are disturbing to me, the assignments that I've been given to stretch my spiritual muscles. These have been my abusers, man. They're my greatest teachers. They're the only ones that create the disturbance. Try to run the show with somebody with Alzheimer's. Who's crazy, her or me? You should have seen me with mommy trying to make her be what I wanted her to be and do what I wanted her to do. And I would go off and I would give her the instructions. This is how you should behave. And this is what we're doing today. And you need to stop doing that. And this is not okay with me. Enough is enough. And she would look at me and she'd be like, And then I would turn around and come back and she would do the same thing again. Didn't you remember? She got Alzheimer's, Theresa. She don't remember what you just said. Just like alcoholics can't remember with sufficient force what they did an hour, a minute ago. What day is it? And I would say, could you stop asking me what day is it? Why don't you just aimlessly walk through life? Does it matter? What does it matter what day is it? Do you know how annoying it is for you to keep asking me what day it is every few minutes? That's disturbing to me. Just don't worry about the day. Just be. And she would be, And then next thing you know, she'll be like, yeah, what day is it? Yo! Okay now. And you want to talk about the insanity? I would say it again. Didn't I just tell you not to ask me we spent hours doing that. Who's crazy? Her or me? God, take all of me. I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm in the role in which he assigns. And these assignments that I've been given has helped me to take a look at these defects of character that stand in the way of my usefulness. It is so easy to practice love and patience when you're around loving and patient people. Try to practice patience and tolerance when it's intolerable. That's why I joked that I knew mommy, the end was coming when mommy was dying. I remember a few months before I said, when mommy dies, who would I blame for my misery? She's been the reason why I can't be, I can't have, I can't do. She's the bane of my existence. Mommy's job was always going, you're not that spiritual. Watch this. I'm telling you, I swear you guys, I would be like, talking to sponsees, going to meetings, you know what I mean? I just practice these principles in all my affairs. God is so good. I'm in total alignment with God's grace. And then my mother be like, yeah, okay, let's see. What day is it? I used to tell her, that, my bad. You know what? You're right. That's spiritual. Yeah, hold on. Thank you for reminding me. Before mommy died, I swear to you, I saw mommy. I'm so grateful for these steps that helped me to see her as my greatest teacher. That I stopped trying to tell her what to be and what to do and how to act and how to just letting that go, letting that go. Okay, God, what is my assignment here? What will you have me be? You know, I do have some defects of character that God has used. My resilience, my determination, my convictions, my beliefs of what's right or wrong, my hunger for life, for goodness. I'm an other-centered person. Other people will tell me that that's codependency. I've been going to Al-Anon since I had 5 days of sobriety. Codependence, self-care, setting boundaries. That's playing God to me. I don't know. How can I learn from the people that you allow me to be of service to and to help? Show me what's blocking me from you. And I began to, instead of looking at what's wrong with you, began to see it as a reflection of what was going on with me and what was blocking me. They used to always say, whenever you say something's wrong with somebody else, you're talking about yourself. That happened when I was new. I got so tired of talking bad about myself that I started finding right things about you. Oh, I got so sick of talking bad about me. I would go to my sponsor and talk about you. She'd be like, you're looking at yourself. You're talking about yourself. And so after a while, I started looking at you going, like your eyes. I mean, I just had to try to figure out what's right with you because I kept talking about what was wrong about me. That's what's interesting about that. I remember I was working in a job and there was a woman and she kept talking. And she was annoying me. And these steps helped me to see, what is that about, Theresa, that this woman annoys you so? That was me. I think I speak all the time and share. God is like, she's a storyteller. She loves talking. You should see my partner, Kim. She's very quiet. She's completely opposite of me. Kim be in her room. We got separate rooms, right? Kim be in her room. I go in her room and I start talking. Hey, what you doing? And she presses pause on the television. And I'd be like, so, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And da-da-da-da, and da-da-da. She'd be like, She tries to interject. And I'm like, no. I'm not asking you to speak. I'm just the one that's talking here. And then I just, da-da-da. I didn't ask for your opinion and your comment. I'm just giving you a commentary of what's going on with me today. And I start sharing. And then in the middle of my, talking to her, she'll press play. And I'm like, am I done? I was like a commercial break. You know what I mean? She'd be like, you're not? Like, it's been like 15 minutes. She'd be like, you were a commercial break. I'd be like, okay, bye. Talk to you later. And I'm like, God, do I talk too much? You do, but we're going to make it useful. You see, that could be a defect of character, right? You talk too much. But you know what I'm going to do with that? I'm going to have you go talk to everybody all over the world. Answer the phone like central office, right? Always tell stories, right? Talk to people. I mean, it's just make it useful. That's my assignment. Listen while you're talking, though, because you're really talking to yourself. Pay attention to what you're saying. That's why sometimes after I finish sharing, I always say it feels like a one-night stand. I'll be like, I don't know it was good for you, but it was good for me. Where is it that selfishness ends up serving itself? In a way, this is a selfish program. My desire to want to stay sober doesn't necessarily have anything to do with too many people, although it ends up being for too many people. Well, what do we say? I don't get sober for my nephews, for my family. I get sober for me. So if he removes selfishness, we're in trouble. Completely remove dishonesty. I use this as an example. I'm generalizing, I'm stereotyping, so let's just go with it. But basically I say, let's say dishonesty is completely wiped out. God says, I'm going to take dishonesty away from you completely. Gentlemen, you got no more dishonesty in you anymore. God has removed it. Let your wife come up to you and ask you if she's fat and if she's still looks good. And if you like the outfit she's in, you better hope that God gives you that dishonesty back so fast. You better keep your mouth closed until God restores you with that dishonesty, because turn around and tell her that she's fat and ugly and old and you sick of her and you don't like that outfit, and see what happens. You end up even being dead or at the court with a divorce. You know what I'm saying? So when I'm saying God in 7, if I go, I'm entirely ready, and God completely takes away dishonesty, I'm in trouble. That's why I gotta leave it up to God. You determine where this is most useful. The main objective here is that I'm not in collision with something or somebody and running the show and causing harm only because I have tunnel vision and my focus is only on me, that I don't consider others. To do this level of inner work, this is where it separates the boys from the girls. It talks about putting on my big girl panties, man. Talk about the hole in the donut. I still don't get that. That's why I don't share it. I don't get the hole in the donut. I know it says it in there. I don't know. I still, maybe one day it'll be revealed of the hole in the donut. I don't know that part, but I know that's what it says. I'm constantly learning and growing and changing. Is why sometimes I say, don't hold me to everything. Because I'd be like, remember what I said last week? That was deep, right? I know. It no longer applies. I found out I know what I was really talking about. But it sounded good last week. More and more gets revealed. That was deep. I know it was real deep. But I done been exposed to life and self-reflection and inventory and asking to be removed. I discovered that, that wasn't as deep as I thought it was. Today I get to step into this thing called life with what I've been saying lately, more questions than answers, in my classes. I love my classes, you guys. I'm graduating on the 18th of May, which is my brother's anniversary. I'll be doing step 12 at Woodstock in the morning and going to graduation in the evening. I do a double major, sociology and religious studies, and I love religious studies. And, this class of death and dying and the afterlife. It's interesting that death is inevitable, but yet we're so terrified of it. And ultimately, we live our lives today on what we think God is, who we are, and the people around us, and what will happen when we leave here. And in all my classes, my professors are going, so, Miss Fair, what are your thoughts? And I say, well, Professor, as usual, I have more questions than I do statements. And most of the time he laughs, because whenever they're sharing the professors, I end up going, I got this from my nephew. I end up going, just opening up my mind to new ideas. This open-mindedness that you taught me with Theresa, is it possible Is it possible that you don't have all the answers? Is it possible? All the answers? 6 and 7 helps me to also have an open mind. Maybe I don't have all the answers of what's right and what's wrong. I'll end with this thing with me lately about the assignments. I'm in this world in which the roles that God has assigned us. Sometimes I still take on this idea of what I know is best. And I get this assignment and I think that that's the end all and be all. That's who I'm going to be and that's what I'm going to do. And then they die and I'm like, wait a minute, I thought I was supposed to be a daughter, supposed to be a sister, supposed to be an aunt. What are you talking about? They died. Now what? What is my identity? What am I supposed to do? God's like, that was just your assignment. Your purpose in life is to stay sober and carry the message. That's it and that's all. Help my children. And I do joke that when mommy died, I cleaned so much house, man. She showed me so many things that were blocking me from you, from God. I did the work. That I do believe, maybe she didn't say it, maybe it's in my own mind, but I do believe that when mommy took her last breath, she was like, poltergeist, this house is clean. And as a result of these steps, it allowed my daddy, I believe when he took his last breath, to know that God, Cocaine Anonymous, had their arms around his daughter and that I was finally safe. Safe to use tools that are designed for living in order for me to be my best self, God's messenger, to live out the assignments that have been always pre-written and divinely inspired. So these steps prepare me to go do some further house cleaning, and that's 8 and 9. I'll say real quick to that, 8 and 9, man, I always say I became a woman in that step, and I knew there was a God. Because when I began knocking on doors, making amends to at least 90% of the people who harmed me, and the way I walked away, this, oh man, me and my creator were one, boy, what an spiritual experience that was. The freedom that came from that. But I wouldn't have been able to do those had I not seen the things that weren't working and why I desperately needed my partnership with this power, the invitation of this relationship that is absolutely extraordinary. I don't want to give that up for anything. I thank you guys for having me. I love you, each and every one of you, if nobody told you today. Thank Cocaine Anonymous. Thank God for my life. I'm excited to see what more has in store for Theresa, what other things will be revealed about what works and what doesn't, and watch God shape and mold. And I'm going to keep praying, Ralph. Shrink, Ralph. Grow, God. Thank you for allowing me to share.
Oh, Theresa, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for your share. Sister, you were heard. We appreciate you. Grateful for you. Let's all take a moment. My Creator, I am now willing that you should have all of me, good and bad. I pray that you now remove from me every single defect of character which stands in the way of my usefulness to you and my fellows. Grant me strength as I go out from here to do your bidding. Amen. I'd like to now hand back to Theresa to take us out with a prayer or a reading of your choice, please.
Okay, Theresa Alcoholic. I haven't done this one in a minute. Our Father's been controversial, but I'm feeling the Our Father. After a moment of silence for those still sick and suffering in and out of the rooms, please join me in the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thy is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.